Rookie wide receivers can be a mixed bag in fantasy. Sometimes they come out and are just awesome, like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And sometimes they need to develop like guys like Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. But I'm going to give you some rookie wide receivers I think can have an immediate impact this year. And the nice thing is they're being drafted fairly late, so you don't have to use high early draft capital to get these guys. Real quick before I get to that, I got to remind you once again, flockfantasy.com/endgame is where you need to be this fantasy season. For you dynasty players, we have a course on how to crush your startup drafts, how to crush your rookie drafts. For you redraft players, we're working on a course to help you crush your drafts. Also, during the season, we'll be doing special member-only live streams to help you set those lineups with your waiver claims, plus our rankings, flockfantasy.com/endgame. Everything you need to dominate this season, 30% off if you subscribe now. My favorite rookie wide receiver for 2023 is without a doubt Jordan Addison. I like the player. I think he was being a little bit slept on because he was kind of banged up here this last year of college, and people started getting, steam on Quentin Johnson and JSN, but I really like the player. I think he's a very good player, and I love where he ended up. And sure, if you look at his college production, 2 years ago was phenomenal, won the Biletnikoff Award, and then last year was kind of banged up, transferred to SC, didn't put up those great numbers, but he's still a great player. He still can do everything you want at the wide receiver position, but what I really like is how he fared against different coverages. So if you look at this chart here, he had a 71% success rate against man and an 80% success rate against zone. Those are very good numbers, especially in today's NFL where a lot of teams play a ton of zone. Now you look a little bit lower, he struggled against press, 51%. That is typically a red flag for me, but not in this situation because how much press is Jordan Addison really going to face in this Vikings offense when Justin Jefferson is their number one wide receiver? Probably very little because Justin Jefferson is going to get most of the attention. They're going to be able to line up Jordan Addison all over the field, off the line of scrimmage, in the slot. He should face a lot of zone, and he should face very little press. He dominated zone, he struggled against press, but in this offense, he won't have to worry about it. So basically, this offense is going to let him play to his strengths and to where he's good. And this offense was a top 5 passing offense last year in terms of attempts. And that shouldn't change because this defense has only gotten worse. They traded away Zadarius Smith, their best pass rusher. I think they're going to be a bottom defense. Once again, they're going to have to throw the ball a ton. They want to throw the ball a ton anyways. I think Jordan Addison can be one of the few rookie wide receivers to come out right out of the gates early in the season and contribute for your fantasy team and only get better and better as the season goes on. So he's one of those rookie wide receivers I got to get every chance I can. Now, a wide receiver that got a lot of steam heading into the NFL draft, got that first round draft capital, is Zay Flowers of the Ravens. And I know a lot of people are going to say, this is a bad landing spot. It's Baltimore. They just want to run the ball. That's the old Baltimore. That was with OC Greg Roman. That was when they had no weapons. What have they done this offseason? Well, they went out and signed Odell Beckham. They drafted Zay Flowers in the first round. They already had Rashad Bateman, a first-round pick, and they already had Mark Andrews. Oh, let's not forget they did replace Greg Roman with a new offensive coordinator who is certainly going to throw the ball more. I think this offense is going to surprise a lot of people in terms of passing efficiency and explosiveness, and Zay Flowers is one of those guys you want a piece of because he's got that explosiveness and could really thrive in this kind of offense. And unlike a player like Jordan Addison who struggled against press, Zay Flowers was great against everything. A 73% success rate against man, 80% against zone, 72% against press. So you can line this guy up anywhere. You can line him up at the X, on the line against press. You can line him up off the line in a flanker role, in the slot. It doesn't matter. Move him all over the field. He can get it done. And I love when you look at his route tree, the kind of routes he excels at. These deep, 9 routes, post routes, but also the shorter routes like the flats and the screens, and even the slants, outs, and corners to a degree. Kind of reminds me of Hollywood Brown. And I know what you're going to say, like, oh, well, Hollywood Brown struggled his first couple years in Baltimore. Yes, but also Lamar Jackson was not the thrower at that time he is today. He has gotten much better as a deep passer, a more accurate passer. I think Zay Flowers is going to thrive in this offense. He's going to have a ton of monster games. He may not have the consistency week in and week out of a guy like Jordan Addison, who I think is just going to be a rock solid player every single week, but he's going to have some really big games and he's going to win you some matchups. And as the season goes on, and we see it a lot of times with these rookie wide receivers, they get better second half of the season, he could absolutely be a league winner. All right, now let's move down a little bit to some wide receivers that aren't quite as big names. And let's go with Jayden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. Love the player coming into the draft, and I really like where he landed. Now, I will admit, I'm a little nervous about Jordan Love. Can Jordan Love support Christian Watson and Jayden Reed? I don't know. But if he can, and if he does, Jayden Reed has league winner written all over him. This is a guy who Player Profiler says his best comparable is Stephon Diggs. I think you'd be happy with Stephon Diggs at pick 215 or wherever he's going. Now, of course, that doesn't mean he's going to come in day one and be as great as Stephon Diggs, of course. And this is just a comparable, but it shows you the type of player he is. Also, Matt Harmon of Reception Perception, who we interviewed earlier this year, whose stuff we love, also compared him to Stephon Diggs. He says here, with his size and some of the route running in his bag, he could find his way onto the Terry McLaurin and Stephon Diggs' axis of smaller separators. Now, of course, he goes on to say he's not ready to proclaim him yet. He's saying that's his potential. So this is two separate sites, two different people saying Stephon Diggs. So he's got the goods, he's got the talent. It's just, can he put it together? And can Jordan Love support an offense that could support two very good fantasy wide receivers? And also, like Zay Flowers, this guy can beat every kind of press there is. 70% success rate versus man, 79 against zone, 77 against press. That is an exceptional number. So you can line this guy up all over the field, run him in all different sorts of ways, and he can excel. So Jayden Reed going very late in drafts, pretty much free in your drafts. There are worse guys you could take with your last pick than Jayden Reed. And don't be surprised if Jayden Reed ends up being a household name by the end of the year. And then there's free, like pick 215 free. And then there's free, like Puka Nacua free. Like he is free, like not being drafted anywhere. Pick 343, not being drafted anywhere. But this is a guy you need to keep your eye on. And look, probably not a guy you need to draft in any of your leagues unless you're in some crazy deep leagues. But you want to keep this guy on your watch list, on your waiver wire. And if there's any sign that he's starting to come around, you will need to grab him because this guy has big play potential every time the ball is snapped. Look at his numbers here in college. Now, he played for BYU, not necessarily a passing powerhouse. But what I want you to notice is not necessarily the yards or the receptions, but look at those yards per receptions. 24, 16.8, 18.7, 13. This guy is a big play waiting to happen every time. And he's landed in a great spot with the Rams because who do the Rams have outside of Cooper Kupp? I mean, Van Jefferson, he's never really put it together. Tutu Atwell is like smaller than me. Ben Skoranek. I mean, there's not a lot of resistance here for this guy. And one other thing I really like about him is the way he was used in BYU. He was used a lot on those end around and jet sweeps. And we know McVay loves to use his wide receivers that way. He does it with Cooper Kupp. He did it with Robert Woods back in the day. I could see Puka having a Robert Woods type of role in this offense. He's also the type of guy who doesn't necessarily need a ton of targets and doesn't need to get the ball thrown to him deep because he's great in space and he can make defenders miss and break tackles. In fact, if you look here, he went down on first contact on just over 55 of his in-space attempts and broke multiple tackles on 10% of his attempts. So this is a guy, Sean McVay can scheme him up different ways. Just get the ball in his hands and let him do his thing and hit those big plays. You got to love his potential in this offense. And then finally, don't sleep on him as an actual wide receiver either because, again, 74% success rate versus man, 78% success rate versus zone, 73% success rate versus press. He's got the goods. He's got the ability. He just played at a small school and didn't put up big numbers, but he landed in a great spot. Again, maybe not a guy you need to draft necessarily, but have him on your watch list. And I'm sure at some point he is going to be a hot waiver wire pickup. So try to be ahead of the game so you don't have to drop any of that fab. And maybe it'll help you win your championship down the stretch. All right, so those are some of my favorite potential league-winning rookie wide receivers. But if you want to see just all the wide receivers I am targeting late in my drafts, check out this video right here.